I invite anybody who is indigenous to this area, to this land, to come up if you'd like, while Reach reads an acknowledgement.
Thank you. Is anyone indigenous here, Haudenosaunee, Iroquois, Algonquin, from this area, please come forward and welcome to come to this land acknowledgement.
Hello, my name is Reach. I'd like to invite anyone Algonquin, Iroquois, or Haudenosaunee from this area to come forward and read this land acknowledgement. Okay, in the absence of anyone indigenous to this land being present in the room, it would be my honor to read this land acknowledgement. My name is Reach. I'm a recording artist, activist, DJ, and a father. Let me just bring up my son. This is the newest member of the rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why we're here. It's for the future. He has a Chewbacca outfit on. I don't know if you guys can see that. He's close. Thank you everyone for being here. Your efforts to protect the environment of Turtle Island are very much appreciated by people like myself, indigenous people like myself, who have a multi-generational connection to that struggle. We welcome you to this struggle. It's an honor to have you here. If you're wondering, if you're confused by my accent, I am Scottish. I was raised in Scotland, but I'm also Chickamauga Cherokee. Thank you. This is a land acknowledgement written by my friend Joe Whittle of the Delaware Nation of Oklahoma. They are in Oklahoma, but they started right here. I think you know why they're in Oklahoma now. I forgot to put on my glasses. New York City is the ancestral homelands of the Lenape people, which we call the Napihokin. Our ancestors cared for these lands throughout all known human history on it. However, we still consider it our sacred home, even though many of us have never seen it today. We ask that our ancestors and the countless thousands of years of human and natural history under all that concrete be acknowledged and remembered by those who walk here today. We give praises to the four directions, to the east, the south, the west, and the north. We give praises to the land, the air, the fresh water that we all depend on for life, and that great fire in the sky, and that fire right in here, which we're all going to need for the journey ahead. Many people here, many people in the city might think that New York City is here because of conquest. It was made a great city because of the people who came here and built it so. This was a city, this was a trading post for thousands of years. It's a place of convergence. You have two tidal rivers. You have the Gulf Stream, you have the Long Island Sound, you have Broadway, the old trail that goes all the way up to Montreal, all converging right here on this land. What makes Manhattan different from the land surrounding it? The bedrock, which allowed the skyscrapers to soar. This is a geological and ecological phenomenon. That is why there was a city built here. And those skyscrapers would not have soared without the skill and bravery of the Mohawk and indigenous steelworkers. Please remember that. Please remember where you are in your daily lives. And as we continue this struggle, remember how long this fight has been going on, and how long it may go on, and who it is for in the future. Thank you very much.
So hi everyone, my name is Chelsea Macmillan, and I'm a spiritual director. I'm a co-founder of the Brooklyn Center for Sacred Activism, which is a community of folks living at the intersection of spirituality and social justice. So I'm really excited to be here today, not only because when I heard that the Extinction Rebellion in London got the city to agree to zero emissions by not only like 100% renewable energy, it doesn't just mean no fossil fuels, it means the imports, it means agriculture, all of those things. Zero emissions by 2030. I was like, where do I sign up? And I'm also really inspired by the principles of XR, one of which being regenerative culture, which really means that we take care of ourselves, we take care of each other, and that's as essential to building this movement as is policy making and civil disobedience. So that's why I'm here today, and so I'm really excited to welcome all of you here. You'll hear a lot today. Today's jam-packed with information about the science, why we're here, why we're in such a grave situation right now. You'll hear more about how you can get involved after January 26th, which is the big action that we're planning for. And you'll hear some great musical artists to inspire us and connect us. So today's going to be really, really full. So I just invite you to, anytime you're feeling like overwhelmed, because we will be getting in touch with our grief, our hope, as well as the excitement of being in a movement together, which is really, really amazing. But you might feel a lot of highs and lows, so just take a moment to connect to your breath, look around you, remember why we're here for each other, we're here for each other's kids, for each other's grandkids, and that's why we're here today. So, without further ado, I don't even know if she's here. Is Agunda here yet? Is anybody's name Agunda Okoyo? She's our first speaker. Okay, well, I guess she's not here. So to start off, I'd like to welcome Greg, who's the lead organizer of Extinction Rebellion NYC, and Rebecca Burnt, who's the spiritual director and one of my favorite housemates, who lives at the Brooklyn Center for Sacred Activism with me. And they're going to tell you a little bit more about the history of XR and some of the organizing principles. So, thank you.
Hi, thank you all for coming. I don't have any official title of being lead organizer. But what brings us all here today, what starts off Extinction Rebellion, is embracing the truth. The truth that we live on a planet that we have been killing, and the science is atrocious, and it is a downer. I'm not going to go into it now. But we have to recognize that we are heading towards extinction. That is what is in our name. And that is where we're founded, where our first demand is founded in telling the truth. And that leads to
grief. And it's important that we recognize the reality and enormity of what is happening and what will continue to happen to us as a species, as a culture, if nothing changes. And even if things do change, there will be suffering. And being able to accept that and feel it in our bodies, to stop numbing out to it, and to really, really feel it, is the first step to taking action. And that's what leads us into rebellion. And that's what we're all about. We're saying we don't want to accept this. We do want to understand what's happening and accept the truth of it, but we don't want to accept that there's nothing we can do about it. Sorry, that also leads us into regenerative culture. So a big principle of Extinction Rebellion, as Chelsea alluded to, is the regenerative culture. It's really important that as we do this work together, that is incredibly critical and so important. Creating a culture that sustains us rather than one that burns us out. Some of you have been in activist cultures before know how easy it can be to push because the work you're doing is so urgent, to the point where you become really numbed out, burned out, and you can't do it anymore. So that's why it's really important to be building systems that promote wellness and promote like a healthy environment for our spirits and our bodies and for our communities.
So the demands of Extinction Rebellion, as you said, first, that governments tell the truth. We can't go anywhere if we don't recognize this truth that, again, brings us here today. And if we don't share that. We can't act on it. We need to, there's an idea that we will be too scared or we'll all crawl up in a corner, but we can't act if we don't know the truth and how dire it is. So the governments tell the truth. Second, getting to zero emissions actually by 2025 is Extinction Rebellion, what we aim for. And that is, again, zero emissions, not zero fossil fuels, not 100% renewable energy. This is across all sectors. And it is an ambitious goal, but is one that if we all put our minds to, we can do. And we use World War II scale climate mobilization, for example, or Green New Deal. We can look to our history as how we can do this. And the climate mobilization is one example of a group that has plans for how we can make such a rapid transition and come together to do so. Lastly is participatory democracy, that we don't generally trust our governments to manage this, and we want to have participatory democracy to both guide our movement and work with the government. But it is not extinction revolution, to be clear. That is not the objective. It is a rebellion saying that the criminal inaction of governments around the world have broken their promise that their number one objective of any government is to keep its citizens safe and the world safe, and that is falling flat.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the principles. And the principles are in your program. I'm not going to go through them point by point. But I do want to note that one of the reasons we have these principles is that it's when we're in a movement together, when we're working together, any kind of group you're in, where you're doing something together, it's important to have something that is building the container to hold all of us, right? We have to have something that we can agree on, that we're going to commit to, that is going to help us stay focused and organized and working towards the same goals together. So I'm going to just highlight a few key points from that list of principles that you can look at in more depth. One is that we are committed to nonviolent direct action. This is a nonviolent movement. Another is that we talk about mitigating for power, and it is important. We do want to be a decentralized movement, meaning that there are lots of individual nodes where people have the autonomy to make decisions as long as they're willing to commit to the basic principles. So we do try to avoid and break down consolidation and control-based hierarchies. At the same time, that doesn't mean that in any given situation, everybody will always have the same decision-making power. And it doesn't mean that we don't have leaders. We really aim to develop a leader-full movement and to have structures that allow everybody to grow into leadership in different ways based on their expertise and time commitments and what they're interested in. So that's another thing. And then the last thing is that we do really want to be a movement, and this is a big regenerative culture piece, that allows everybody to show up with their whole selves. That means that we're not always perfect. We're not always doing everything we should be doing all the time. Sometimes we have emotions that can be difficult to deal with, and we want to create containers and communities that can hold those and hold people in a really wholehearted way. At the same time, there are sometimes behaviors or attitudes that destroy community, destroy solidarity, destroy momentum, and things like racism, sexism. I mean, I can go down the list, but I think we all know what these are. We don't necessarily always tolerate everything that everybody does. And we have to make those decisions about whether someone's showing up in a way that's really serving the whole community or not sometimes. I think that's it.
Yeah, and these are all the principles are in your packets. There's lots of information in those pamphlets that we picked out. So please make use of that paper that we sacrificed. Yeah, Rebecca does an amazing job. She's been kickstarting our regenerative culture team, also with Sarah, who's here, and many others. And regenerative culture plays a really important role there. That it's a work group that's also in the principles. And I originally didn't know what that word meant. I thought it was like, oh, maybe it's just wellness, but it's, not burning out, but as a person, as an individual, but also as a community. And that's part of what is really, it's a really core part of Extinction Rebellion that was really important to me to see, because of seeing movements that were really draining on people, and where people were antagonized maybe by each other. But we talk a lot about positive feedback loops and the science of how scary that is, but regenerative culture is about the positive feedback loop of each other to empower each other. So we're also action-oriented. All of our principles here guide us to take fast action, where you don't have to go through lots and lots of levels of bureaucracy. If you are doing action in the movement, in the name of the principles, they meet the principles, and there's at least 2 others that are working on this with you that think that this is a good idea, then that's XR, that's Extinction Rebellion, and you can do that, right? We do hope you join in with create affinity groups and work in working groups, and use those to empower and build this as a communal power. But also remember that you can go out there and take action in solidarity with these principles at any time. And that was part of the idea of how we can do this fast. And because that's what the truth is, that we don't have people like to talk about, we have 12 years for the IPCC report. We don't have 12 years, we have negative 30 years. And we're doing the best we can to get the best Earth that we can. So that is a bit of the alliance of the willing is part of the ethos of Extinction Rebellion. No one can tell you what to do, and we're made up of people who come together and decide to do it. Otherwise, we also, part of what really brought me to Extinction Rebellion before November and October, when we were looking at the plans and this was starting to spread through the UK, is that the actions were strategic. There are symbolic actions that we take, and we make a splash and we get an image, and that is important. But I'm tired of getting arrested and working with some of the people in this room that have led me and guided me, and then we don't even make it into the newspapers, right? We don't even make it into the media. So how do we not get ignored? Well, you escalate and you make sure it's strategic, and thus the swarming tactics in London, thus the shutting down bridges in London, and making an actual economic impact that cannot be ignored. So I think today is all about plugging you in to XR, and we have made plans to try to do that as seamlessly as possible to go forward. It's not always going to be perfect though, and we hope that you work with us, and if you have an idea, often think first, can I take that idea forward? Or if you have an issue, how can I help to fix that issue and make sure that others don't have that issue? And we're going to work as hard as we can together to fix that. We had a meeting on December 13th. Thought there were going to be 30 people. There was more like 80. A lot of you were there. Today, same thing. I thought this would be half the size. And we are going to keep going, and we're going to keep growing, because everyone in this room is going to be a leader, and it's going to spread the word. And we're going to talk more about that, but we have to make it happen. So thank you for coming, and I hope you're inspired, and I hope you enjoy the show, and that we use the regenerative culture, the media, and all the amazing performers that we have to be able to cope with the horrors of this world and some of the sadder things that we'll have to think about today. So thank you all.
So we actually are skipping ahead a little bit because we had a couple of speakers not able to make it, one of whom was Agenda Okoye from the Women's March, and also a speaker from Black Lives Matter, who we just got word was actually arrested yesterday on a protest. So let's send some thoughts and prayers that way. We all know what we have an idea of what it's like to be black or brown in this country and be dealing with the police. So let's send our thoughts that way. to remind us of the intersectionality, that climate justice does not exist in a vacuum apart from racial justice and gender justice and all sorts of things. So it's important to keep that in mind as we continue forward. We also, Avi Noah was a musical artist who was going to play some music, and they weren't able to make it today due to sickness. So we can also send some thoughts that way. Before I mention our next speaker, who I'm so excited to introduce, we just had a word from the social media team to let you all know that you can live stream right now, because someone is live streaming from the event page, so you can share the live stream. You can share the live stream from the event page on your Facebook if you want to do that, and using the hashtags XR NYC and hashtag Extinction Rebellion. So I'm really excited for our next speaker, who is a young woman making her voice heard around climate justice. She's here in New York City. Her name is Alexandria. It's not that Alexandria, someone much cooler, well, maybe not much cooler, I shouldn't say that, but anyway, she goes by Lexi. She's 13 years old, and every Friday she's staging a one-person strike at the UN to talk about climate justice. So please welcome Lexi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alexandria Lisa York. I'm a 13-year-old. Many of you know me from my strike at the UN every Friday for the movement Fridays for Future, where I strike at the United Nations. As part of the Fridays for Future movement, inspired by Greta Thunberg in Sweden. However, before I talk about my strike, I wanted to talk about my home state. I'm originally from Northern California, and my mom and I moved to NYC just last year. This past November, I happened to be visiting family in California when the campfire in Paradise, California broke out. We were lucky we weren't in the direct line of the fire, and also that our house wasn't in danger. The biggest problem we faced, though, was the smoke. In my town of Davis, California, people were passing out in the street from smoke inhalation from the wildfires. And the wildfires can cause lung problems for a long time after exposure. It was very scary, and my trip was cut short, and my family sent me back to California so I wouldn't be exposed anymore. So, some facts about the campfire is that it destroyed over 20,000 structures and 150,000 acres of land was destroyed. It is now the largest and most dangerous fire in the California state history. Climate change is making California hotter and drier, and more fires will continue to break out. When I returned to New York City, I was really upset about all the fires because I love my home state. And that's when I read about Greta Thunberg and her climate strike. The reason I chose to strike at the UN is because the world leaders aren't doing enough, and to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions and stop using fossil fuels. And fossil fuels are heating up our planet, and we will keep seeing more fires, droughts, extreme weather all around the world. And so I hope my strike will help others learn about the climate crisis and do something about the emergency that we are in every day. And so on March 15th, Friday, my chapter of Zero Hour will be having our first school shutdown for climate. We will be walking out of school at noon. We will be having a rally at 1, and then a march. We will have lots of speakers, and the theme will be reimagining our future. Because with climate change, our future will be different than it is today. And so the youth are going to reimagine what our future will be. I hope I can see some of you there, and thank you for letting me talk about my strike.
Super inspiring, thank you. So next, we're going to have a mini Know Your Rights overview from Monica Hunkin, who is an activist, storyteller, and teacher who creates docu-adventure plays inspired by her international bicycle voyages. That sounds so awesome. She's also, the bio gets more awesome as I'm reading it. She was an action captain for Reverend Billy and the Church of Stop Shopping, who you'll see later today. She's also a creative direct action trainer with Beautiful Trouble, a training coordinator for Resist Spectra, and co-founded the all-women bicycle dance troupe, NY Bike Dance. That's so awesome. Do you like dance on the bike or like with the bike? Okay, anyway, are you gonna talk over there or? Okay. Yeah.
Well, I'm embarrassed. Didn't know I was going to have my bio read. Hi, everyone. Thanks for that. How are y'all doing today? This is such a great space. It's so full of amazing people. Look at all of you. I'm glad to see you. I would like to ask you, if you can, to stand up with me, please. And put all your little things to the side and your notes and everything. What we're going to be doing, or what at least I hope a lot of you, when you signed up for why you're here today, is direct action, right? Direct action is a physical commitment. It's something that we take with our bodies. And it's one of our tools in the toolbox that we have, right? It's a very strong one. It's the tool of the people. We have the tools of petitioning, of speaking out. We have the tools of going and speaking in city council meetings and all those things. But this is the tool that is handed to the people, that we take, that we claim our power, right? So it's very powerful, and I want you to, it's different when you're out in the street than when you're at your laptop and you're just, doing your little finger things on the petitions and stuff like that. It's something where you're actually in the space and you're directly at sites of oppression, putting your body there, right? It's a very powerful thing. So you need to feel that in your body, you need to practice it, you need to get comfortable with the people in the space with you, you need to know what that's like. When you're out in the street, there's all these distractions, there's security, there's people yelling at you, get a job, right? I'm thinking a lot of that. If you haven't had that before, don't let it get to you. Know who you are, okay? There's going to be traffic, there's going to be people yelling, there's going to be police, right? There's going to be all these things, and a lot of people here are going to have different relationships with police. Some people are going to have easier relationships with police because of whatever reason, because of your skin color, because of how you present, because of privilege. For some people, it's not going to be as easy to deal with police, right? Because we have institutionalized racism. We have systems that are stacked against people who are marginalized, okay? We could talk about this for a very, very long time. We're not going to talk about it so much today because this is a mini Know Your Rights. But that's something very important to know about when you're acting collectively with a group of people, making agreements together, how you are in the street together, okay? So, I would like you to all link arms with each other. This is west, right? Can we agree on that? Okay, so, except for the people on the sides here, we're going to say this is, I'm going to give you a little vocabulary here. This is the People's Wall, right? So if I say People's Wall West, then you're going to link arms like that. Could I actually have some people with me up here? Would you mind being with me? Yes. Great, so we're going to do this soft blockade. We're doing a soft blockade. This is a soft blockade because we don't have any hard equipment or anything, right? We just have our bodies, which are soft for the most part. So we're gonna, if I didn't have this microphone, I would link my fingers together like this, right? I'm gonna have a nice strong stance. I'm gonna have one leg in front of the other, whichever one feels more comfortable for you. You're not gonna have your legs too narrow, so you're not easily knocked down. You're gonna have like this kind of bend in your knees, this kind of sway, feel it together, right? You feel strong? Feel good? Like if someone came up to you and pushed you, then you might be able to hold them back. Yeah? So So you have that. So this is a soft blockade. This is your wall west. If I said wall east, what would you do? Right. Yes, and this one might be the trigger. If I said people's wall north, what would you do? You might have to be armed with people across the seat from you. How does that feel? Oh my gosh. Something in between you, but not anymore. You're all connected. Yes, connect where you can. Find that strength and support. And see if you can do it smoothly and efficiently. Wall south, people's wall south. Figure it out, find a way. Just stand for direction. That's one thing first, right? We got that, we can change the world. Okay. And come back and face me, please. And actually, if you can, once we're linked up. Wall, people's wall north. While the choir is here, I'm inspired to say one of our strongest rights, one of our oldest protest rights that we have, which is the First Amendment. We're going to mic check it, okay? Congress shall make no law. Congress shall make no law. Respecting an establishment of religion. Respecting an establishment of religion. Or, what is it? Now that I'm mic checking it, messing up. Huh? Of religion or abridging the freedom of speech. Or of the press. Or the right of the people. Peaceably to assemble. And to petition the government. For a redress of grievances. You got that? You got it memorized? Yeah. Keep it in your back pocket, okay? Great, okay. Please take a seat. Thank you so much. So it's very, very important that we know our rights because they're being trampled on all the time. Protest laws are being put down. There was on the floor in many states a bill to possibly make it so that drivers who drive over protesters would not face repercussions. That was on the floor. It didn't pass, thankfully, but these are some of the things that we're facing, right? Our rights are being attacked all over the place, and we need to stand up for them. We cannot be docile, we cannot be apathetic, we cannot sleep. We need to claim our rights, because they will not be given to us, right? If we're just passively hanging out, people are like, you know what? You have a lot of rights, so I'm going to tell you what they are so you can keep exercising. That doesn't happen in this country. We have to constantly fight for them and claim them, because rights are not handed from above. They are claimed by the people who need them most, who are directly impacted, right? So we have to do that. Yes? Right? Right? Okay, good. So, I think I still have a little bit of time to go over some things. Especially if people are sick, right? I could go forever. No. If you want to do training, though, we will have more trainings coming up. There are going to be like 4 trainings coming up the rest of this month. I'll be doing one of them. So you can come out to those and get deeper in it, okay? This is just a little touch on it. So, I'm going to teach you some legal language, some magic words, okay? Now, these are things that may or may not help you in the moment, but they will help you later on in a court of law. So if you have great documentation and you're claiming your rights, you're saying them, you're demanding them, and that's documented, then later on in court of law, it can help you out, okay? I am not a lawyer, remember, so if you're doing actions and you want to speak to a lawyer, you should do that first, always, right? And go to an action training. So, these are 3 levels of interaction with police, okay? First level is chit-chat. I strongly recommend you do not engage in this first level of interaction, okay? Some groups might choose to have a police liaison. That's up to you and your affinity group and those agreements that you have within your group. Some people choose not to interact with police at all. That's up to your group and your affinity group and what you're going to do, okay? So, chit-chatting with police can be dangerous. Why? Because police can lie. They're taught to lie. They can manipulate. Now, I understand that some people might have friends who are police, people might have family members. There might be police here right now. If you are, please raise your hand. Okay. Right, I'm not here. You just gotta ask nicely sometimes. they're probably mining you for information, finding out a lot about you, and manipulating you, and then using that later on against you and your group, right? So refrain from that. Doesn't mean you don't have to be polite to police, that you can't be polite to police. You can. That might help you through the process of arrest if you are getting arrested. But try to not talk to police. Don't talk to police, okay? It can endanger people, it can endanger your friends, yourself. Second level of interaction with police is detainment. So if you're detained, if you are pulled off to the side and you don't know what's happening, you want to ask and see what's going on, right? If you walk away from this without asking yet what's going on, that could be resisting arrest. And you could be charged with that. So you don't want to do that. You want to hang out. You want to ask what's going on so that you don't have an escalated charge against you. Okay? So if you're being detained, I'm going to play the police officer right now, and you're going to play the people, as you are. And so if I'm detaining you, I would like you to say, am I being detained?
Am I being detained?
Great. Okay? And then sometimes, even just hearing that, police officers you never know, they might be pissed off because like, oh, this person thinks they know their rights, blah, 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 blah. Or they might, like, oh, this person knows their rights, I can't get away with this much. You never know how that's going to be. Of course, there are many factors, like we said, when you're dealing with institutionalized racism, with white supremacy, and all of that, okay? So, if you are being detained, and they say yes, then you can say, am I under arrest?
Am I under arrest?
Okay? If they say no, then you can say, am I free to go?
Am I free to go?
Okay? And if you are free to go, get out of there. Don't hang out and stay and talk about what's going on. Get out of there. You don't want to stay and talk with the police. Okay? If you are under arrest, well then the process has happened. And it's starting to be in motion, unless you have in your group some de-arrest process or something like that. That's in your affinity group that you're figuring out. That's for you. And when they say yes, you are under arrest, then you can say, I want to speak to my lawyer.
I want to speak to my lawyer.
Okay? And you can also say, I'm going to remain silent.
I'm going to remain silent.
You're doing very well. Remember that even though you might be able to come up with all of these now, in the moment you might just totally blank and not know what to say, right? That's why it's important to practice these things. You can practice with a friend, you can read before you go into a space, just have it ready. It can help you out a lot. Okay, so if you invoke your rights for silence and for a lawyer, don't start talking after that. Like, wow, that's vague, well, then you revoke that right, so you have to constantly claim it because they won't hand it to you, remember? If you watch too much with that legal show, Law and Order, thank you, I've never seen it, but I should probably. But if you watch Law and Order, they'll read you your Miranda rights, right? Everyone knows about them. They're like, oh, well, they're going to give you the right to remain silent. They never will say this to you. I have never had my Miranda rights read to me, okay? So I doubt that will happen for you either. So you have to claim it and say it out loud. So then, if you are under arrest and you've gotten your right to a lawyer, you're going to remain silent, then it's happening and you're going to go through the process, okay? You have rights. Don't forget, you have the right to assemble peacefully, right? This is a nonviolent movement, don't forget that. That's part of the agreements. There's a lot of nuances in nonviolence. You might think, oh, I know what that means. For a lot of different people, a lot of groups, that might mean wildly different things. So that's another thing to discuss in your groups when you're planning actions, okay? You have the right to film police. You have the right to photograph them. You have the right to ask them for their badge numbers. If they're doing something that you think is wrong, you can say, officer, what's your badge number? Officer, what's your name? Write it down. Write down their badge number. Get a photograph. Get a video of it. This could help you out later on in a court of law. If they lie about what you're doing and you have proof to prove the otherwise of that, that can help you out a lot. If you prove that they're doing something violent that they shouldn't be doing, then you can maybe get them fired. It happens sometimes, right? Not always, but sometimes. You have the right, so if you are filming and documenting, another legal language that you can use is, I am not interfering with your investigation.
I am not interfering with your investigation.
Okay? That can help you out. That means that you should be like, hey, what are you doing? You're arresting this person. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right? Be respectful, have your distance, don't give up. But, try to actually not interfere with it. So it could be dangerous to you, it could damage your property. I've seen it happen. You have the right to privacy of your things. If they start to go through your bag, it's a very different thing if you say, you know what, I don't really feel comfortable with you going through my stuff right now, than if you say, I do not consent to this search.
I do not consent to this search.
And God forbid you have anything illegal in your bag, but then later on, if you have that documented, that could be thrown out in a court of law as well, okay? So, remember your rights, remember your First Amendment, remember that we need to stick together and battle these things out together as best we can and support each other in solidarity. It's not easy, but we can do it, and your rights are there to help you. All right, that's my time. I'm Monica. I'll see you later.
Citizens intervention. What do I mean by take 1 minute. What do I mean by a citizens intervention? I'm not on the agenda. And you could do the same thing. Imagine we were in a church or in our business or in a community meeting, and you just stand up and say, my name is Paul, and every time I hear one of these scientific studies, I realize that we are on the edge, and very soon that we're going to face extinction. And I think our church, our synagogue, this school, where we are, we should be talking about this and we should be getting together. Thank you very much for taking the time. That's a citizens intervention. You can do it anytime, any place. Anybody wants to talk about it, I'm forming an affinity group for these kinds of actions. You don't have to wait till the 26th. You can do it tomorrow. Thank you very much.
Always a surprise. So thank you, Monica. I was going to just let you all know, we'll have more trainings on nonviolent direct action. We'll go more in depth to all of that. And there are dates for those in your program. I think the second to last page of your program. And we'll also have, I think in your program you also have your rebellion card, which we'll go over more later, but you'll be able to mark which action trainings you can come to. So more on that, but just so you know how to find out more about that. Yes, thank you, Bill. Your rebellion cards. It's official now, you're all rebels. So next we're going to have Christina, who's an activist and music teacher, to come talk about the action on January 26th, which is really our kickoff to the Extinction Rebellion here in New York City. So welcome, Christina.
Talk about our upcoming January 26th Extinction Rebellion Day of Action. So everything I talk about will be on the website, whose address is written on your program and on the Facebook event page leading up to the action. We will meet at Grand Army Plaza in Manhattan, which is at the corner of 59th Street and 5th Avenue, right near the Plaza Hotel. We will meet there around midday. There is a small park right next to the Plaza Hotel called Grand Army Plaza. It's next to 59th Street and 5th Avenue. That's where we're meeting. And we will meet there around midday. Check the website and Facebook page for exact time, closer to the 26th. This will be an unpermitted action. It's at 59th Street at 5th Avenue, and all this information will also be on the website, which you can find the address to in your program. We will leave Grand Army Plaza in Manhattan and march to an undisclosed location where those who wish will participate in acts of nonviolent civil disobedience. There will be clearly marked marshals to follow during the march, and the event is meant to be safe and welcoming for those who do not wish to risk arrest. So we ask march participants to adhere to their action commitments and to not elevate or provoke confrontations that would jeopardize those people's wishes. There will be escalating levels of direct action and many support roles and ways to participate at the event unrelated to arrestable action. There will be music. Theater and art will also play central roles. Musicians are encouraged to reach out, as well as artists of all kinds. You can write your skills on the rebellion card. Everyone is encouraged to sign up today for a free nonviolent direct action training, whether they plan to participate in the higher risk part of the action or not. And there will be extra details and training for those that choose to participate in escalated parts. The creative disruption by Extinction Rebellion will work with small or large numbers, though the more the merrier. We will use our bodies and our numbers to show through creative imagery and with seriousness that the rebellion has landed in New York City and that climate inaction will no longer be tolerated as business as usual.
Next, I'd like to welcome to the stage the director of the New York chapter of the Women's March. She's a writer, an activist, a comedian. She's going to come and do a stand-up act right now. Just kidding. This is, again, that was my joke, you guys. I know, not good. Anyway, her name is Agunda Okeo, and she's going to come and talk to you all about, what are you going to talk about? I guess we'll find out.
I didn't have exactly prepared remarks, but I want to tell you guys about a big action that we're planning next week, and also tell you a little bit more about me. So my name is Agunda Okeo. I'm a writer, producer, activist here in New York. As she alluded to, I produce the longest-running Black woman-centered comedy show here in New York City. It's at Caroline's on Broadway. It's called Sisters of Comedy. Some people have seen it because it's been around for a while, and it's a good time. And it's my kind of means of trying to get to the people in a way that isn't too aggressive. I often have really cool folks who come on board, like Linda Sarster's been on the show, Gloria Steinem's been on the show, Alicia Garza's been on the show. So I often kind of try to integrate social justice into the comedy space. But I'm actually the director of Women's March in New York City, and that's why I'm here today. So I wanted to tell you about this initially. I want to let you guys know a little about what I'm planning next week, why I'm here to speak to you, and then also I'll tell you a little bit more about my relationship to climate justice. So next week, January 19th on Saturday, at Foley Square from 10 to 2 p.m., we're going to have what we call a Women's Unity Rally. So we've been organizing here as a chapter for about a year and a half. We're just working at the grassroots, not making a big stick, not much press, nothing like that, just working with organizers and building the movement. And I knew that this part of the march would come eventually and be more of a satellite kind of glitzy moment. But what we're doing is we made a coalition of about 50 grassroots to labor organizations in New York City, probably going to be more than 50 at the end of the day, who are coming together with a really progressive policy platform for our now Democratic state legislature here in New York State. So, yeah, round of applause for that. So it's based on our unity principles, which are the super progressive principles. We have bills that are actually coming up for legislative session around ending violence, whether it's state-sponsored violence or gender-based violence, LGBTQIA rights, disability rights, climate justice, civil rights, all kinds of issues that are really pertinent to making the state truly progressive. So we want to take full advantage of the fact that we destroyed the IDC and be able to make sure we put forward an agenda that really will work for New York State. So I'm here because I need your help. So as a Kenyan, I'll tell you, my first name means the land underneath the first homestead in our community, so it's an earth name. It's non-gendered. My last name means born at harvest time, so it's a season. It has to do with the weather. So my entire orientation inclines me to be highly aware of what's happening with the environment. My mother's done a lot of interesting work around climate justice. She's an anthropologist. She's the first African woman to write about women's land rights in pre-colonial Africa, about how we have our own practices that are quite good, that we don't need to run to Europe or anywhere else to figure out what to do. I'm stealing a little bit of time because I think Greg said I had a little more time, so I was going to let you guys know a few things. Kenya is still an agrarian society, so we're not as quite resistant to the idea of climate change as people here. You know, with big agri-farming and all these things, a lot of times people are not getting that, like, the climate is way out of whack. Like, it's at a level that, you know, we know from the UN climate reports, my mother and my father worked at the UN, that we're dealing with potential extinction level events. This is not a joke, right? We all know this. So what I need from y'all is not only for y'all to come to the rally next week, but I want to get as many organizers and organizations who work on climate justice to contribute to this policy platform. So we can make sure we're actually introducing bills towards the legislative session and supporting each other. It's not about like co-opting or anything, it's a coalition. So it's about supporting each other and figuring out how we can make sure this state is actually a leader, not only for us, but also for the rest of the country and potentially for the world. Right now, we know we're in a very interconnected state. We have no opportunity to run away and say we can't take in these migrants from climate problems, or we have to kind of distance ourselves from this issue, or we can like figure out how to make coal clean or whatever garbage people are trying to spew out there. We are dealing with something that is so existentially threatening, and I think that's essentially why there's such cognitive dissonance around people being able to face it. But we have to confront it. And what Women's March in New York City and our co-chair for the march is the New York Immigration Coalition. What we're trying to do is make sure we come across this incredibly innovative, unapologetic, progressive legislative agenda that we can bring to our governors and our politicians and make sure that we actually make this state a place where we can feel proud and also show the rest of the country how to do it right. Because New York is know how to do it right, right? Yeah. New York is right? Yeah. All right, they represent, right? Yeah. All right, so I really want to say that I'm grateful for this time that I've had with you. I wanted to actually be able to articulate these points to you clearly, for you to understand that Women's March in New York City is actually a Black women-led organization. We have partners and coalition builders from all ethnic communities. The coalition we're building is massive. It includes literally every demographic you can imagine, including a really robust Jewish contingent, LGBTQIA folks, disability rights folks, all kinds of people coming together. So the rally again is next Saturday, January 19th at Foley Square from 10 to 2 p.m., all right? And we're gonna have a really great platform centering grassroots organizers as well as, you know, a few kind of celebrities and, you know, some politicians, but it's really about the people fundamentally. So I am grateful again for the time that you guys have given me, and I hope that we can speak to Greg and the climate mobilization folks and also the Extinction Rebellion folks, and we can figure out how to come together and make sure that this state is green as we can possibly make it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Rebecca. That's a great reminder that the situation is dire and that we have to make really dramatic moves to get things happening by not 2050, not 2040, but like in the next decade or so. So hopefully we can really push our legislators to get some of that movement going. So next, how are you all feeling? Are you good? Are you in your bodies? Are you excited to be part of this movement? My rebels, come on! Because now you're going to find out how you can take part. We're going to start hearing from some of you in our breakout groups. So I just wanted to do a little check-in, see how you're all feeling. Are you connected to yourselves? Are you feeling connected to each other? You can just think about it silently. Because right now I'm going to bring up Bill Beckler, who's going to talk about our breakup groups and facilitate that. Bill is a father of 3. He has a background in community organizing and climate justice. I think one of his kids is also a climate striker, so Lexi, you probably know them. Maybe not, we need more of them. So let's welcome Bill. He's going to tell us how you all can get involved.
Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. That was amazing. You know, this is a large group of people, and we're here to make decisions and to build something together. And it's kind of hard to be in a room like this and feel like you're part of something when you also feel like you're part of a show or an audience in a non-interactive way. We decided to split up this time so that there was a time for us to be in much smaller groups. Now, even in smaller groups, it's not, this is not the Constitutional Convention. This is not a chance for all of us to rewrite what we're doing here, but it is a chance for us to at least have a little bit more say in what's going on, a chance to look each other in the eye, meet some people. I feel the same way that Paul did, who got up earlier and said, we really should all be part of the agenda here. And this is also the beginning of what I hope is something massive. And that means that as much as this may be your first time coming to an Extinction Rebellion event, there's a lot more that's going to happen, and every single person in here, I hope, is in charge of an event like this at some point. And it's helping grow this so that there's hundreds of churches filled with people talking about how we can save our planet. Now, I found out about Extinction Rebellion in December when I saw them on the news, and they were shutting down bridges all over London. I thought, great, this is finally kicking off. I've been waiting for this. Dakota Pipeline didn't turn into a fire across the road like I thought it would, but now something big is happening in a major city. And then they won, which I never expected. Protests don't just win. London caved in December. I didn't do much research on Extinction Rebellion, but I thought, I want to know what they're doing and I want to be a part of that. And I went to a meeting about a month ago at ThoughtWorks that some folks are here. Raise your hand if you're at the meeting at ThoughtWorks. More of a presentation that kind of helped get a lot more people inspired to be part of this. At that point, I still had very little understanding of how amazing Extinction Rebellion was, and I did a little research. Who knows how old Extinction Rebellion is? Raise your hand if you believe it's over a year old. Raise your hand if you believe it's over 6 months old. Raise your hand if you believe it started in the last, over 3 months ago. Extinction Rebellion started on October 31st, less than 3 months ago. Throughout the month of November, they built up an organization that was about 15, 20 times bigger than the size of the people in this room. And they came up with an agenda that was inspirational, that protests for this purpose, for the purpose of ringing the alarm bells about climate change, is uniquely effective because we're talking about an issue that trumps everything. And typically when people are protesting, other people look at that and think, oh, protest, whatever. This is a movement where protest works because when we protest, we raise a moral question to everybody about whether what we're doing justifies what we're trying to accomplish. And there's no reason not to disrupt everything for what we're doing. And it's working, and people see that, and it's resonating, and they're growing. And that means that Extinction Rebellion has figured out the formula. Now, we, a few weeks ago, before Christmas, thought we want to shut down the city. The group that started in London called for a National Day of Action on the 26th. That's 2 weeks from now. And we looked at each other, and we had a follow-up meeting after the ThoughtWorks meeting, and there's about 15 people in the room, and we thought, how are we going to make a difference in New York City? How are we going to create something that is on par with what London did? Who are we to do that? Do we have the skills in this room to do that? What are we going to do to wake this city up? We're only 15 of us. Well, we thought, what if we have a meeting 2 weeks before the 26th? And that's why we're all here today. You were invited here because we know we need to take this city down. We need to do something big. We need to start a series of actions that helps wake up New York City. We can be the largest government in the world, larger than London. London today is the largest government in the world to declare a climate emergency. That's what happened because of Extinction Rebellion. We can be the next biggest one. We're bigger than London. We can be that, unless LA beats us to it. The breakout groups that we're about to have right now is your chance to declare your role in that. Everybody has in their program, and if you don't, you should find one. The ushers have a few, and there's a pile over there. You should have a rebellion card that you'll be filling out later. But within the breakouts, we'll be sharing ideas about what kinds of actions we can take. It's not going to be a complete workthrough of those ideas or a decision. It'll just be the start of a conversation, and you'll also be making commitments. And the whole point of being here today was to have that conversation. We wanted to have this meeting so that we could build something big, and this is how we build. We make commitments to each other to take steps to grow this and to get lots of people to come to an action on the 26th. So in the breakouts that will be happening, and I'm gonna orchestrate the breakouts. It's a little fiddly. This is an old building. It's not perfect for organizing something. So I'm gonna walk around the room and I'm gonna point at different groups and I'm gonna tell you where to go. And I want everybody to stay where they are until I'm done with that. And I want you to try to pay close attention because we can't do this more than once. When you're invited to a breakout, try to go straight to your breakout. There's not that much time on the agenda to mix around and go off. If you have to go to the bathroom, run, be as fast as you can, and run back. There's 10 breakouts, and there are different sizes. 2 of the breakouts are going to be down here, and a few of the breakouts are going to be up in this balcony, and then there's a couple more oddly shaped rooms scattered throughout this building that I'm going to send you off to. Okay, you guys over here are going to go to what's called the red room, which is that way. And if you need to ask questions, you'll find it.
Clarify, we're not choosing where we go, you're just directing the sections of this audience to where we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm directing groups because each room is a different size. In order to have effective breakouts, we don't want to have everybody going to a small room and nobody going to a big room. So I'm just going to tell folks where to go based on where you're sitting. So you guys up to here are the red room, and then you guys up to here are the gym, and you guys are the balcony up in that corner over there. And then if you're from here back to the center section, then stay where you are. We're going to have a breakout room in the back of this room here. And if you're in this row, or this row, like up to here, you're going to go to the gym, which the red room is on the other side, and it's in that direction, so when you head out that way. And then you guys up here, all the way to the end, from here, you're going to come over to this side of this room and stay in the room. And you guys are going to go up to the balcony. Everyone on this side is going to go up to the balcony. We divide ourselves around the balcony and just try to break up into sections. There's going to be 3 different breakouts in the balcony, and the 3 facilitators, they pick on the wall for their sections. Okay, go for it.
Does anyone mind being on the live stream for this breakout? Say hi, everybody. This is our live stream breakout. Yep. If anyone has a problem with being on the live stream, we can change it.
Selfie stick, I guess?
Yeah, it was given to me by Greg, who's organizing the thing. We used to have a microphone attached to it, but it wasn't really working.
That's my style. It's good fusion of tech and nature.
Yeah.
I've got the paper over here.
All right. Yeah, so...
Easy first step.
Yeah.
Introduction. Dawn.
Sam I am.
Sam I am. I guess we're going to wait for him to come around and tell us what we need to do.
And we need to clear this space a little bit so actually we can just switch this way. We get to the cues, I think that's fine. And then there's an agenda. I'll be right with an agenda.
Oh, okay.
Sure, yeah. Are you going to join us?
All right.
They want us to go up to the places.
Hey, Leah, it's my pleasure.
Daniel, can you help me? Can you help me? Hi, Judy. So I need to subscribe. Yes. And there's workers around the wall. We could maybe bring them and just hang them on the side of the piano or something. Or maybe All right, guys, can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The agenda for the breakout goes like this. We're going to have a quick go around where we're going to say our names and just to sort of like look each other in the eye and get a sense of who we are. And then we're going to have a very tightly facilitated action brainstorm. The details of the 26th are mostly worked out, but there's going to be a lot more action to be hoped in the future. And we want to start getting the ideas flowing for what we're about and bring those ideas back to the main group. So we're going to have an action brainstorm, and then we're going to talk about a little bit about turnout for the 26th. How many people we believe we can get to come so that we can plan on what kind of action is this going to be. And then we're going to talk a little bit about organizing beyond the 26th. Having house meetings, getting people involved, getting more people involved in this process. And then finally, we're going to take some of the conclusions of what we came up with here back to the overall body when we reconvene in about 30 minutes. It's kind of a tight agenda, so I'm going to be a little bit, I might interrupt anyone who's kind of like taking up a lot of time because within 30 minutes, it's hard for every single person to play a role unless there's a process for everybody to have an equal chance to talk in the process. Okay. So, let's just do our intros and try to speak loud because there's multiple breakouts going on.
Like if some people just sit here and look up, then we're like getting around.
Yeah, it might actually be better for some folks to come over here and stand or sit in this area. Especially if you're really far away from me, and then we can be even closer and not have to talk so loud. What's that? We're not going to Okay. There are less people we can have we are. But unfortunately, given that we're open this name really have like 1 second per person. You want to start out with your name? Just yell your name so we can all hear your name.
Evan Kirksey, Environmental Humanities Journal.
All right, too much. Just your name.
Just the name. Danny.
We split into two groups and then we have the opportunity to have.
Because I'm not going to remember everyone's name.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have enough sort of people prepared to facilitate. All right.
I'm Danny.
Amir. Ken.
Alexandria.
Ashley.
Anne.
Sin.
Melanie.
Adam. Bill.
Chloe.
Leo. Aaron. Andre. Eric.
Philip. Danny.
Sam.
Catherine.
Aviva.
Melanie. Dawn. Mara. Donna.
Chris.
JK. Neil.
All right, thanks. Okay, now to do an action brainstorm is hard with this many people, and we have about 11 minutes for this. The idea is that we're just going to throw out ideas of two types of things. One is places that we can target that are symbolic around climate change in New York City, and the other is things we can do at those places. And sometimes it's the same thing. Like climbing the Statue of Liberty, you're not going to climb the statue unless it's the Statue of Liberty. But sometimes it's two different things. Like Lincoln Center is symbolic because there's a Koch Theater. or whatever. But the idea is to get all of our ideas out and see if we can inspire each other. Now, if someone's going to say something that you don't agree with, is a good idea. The purpose of this is not to debate all of these ideas. It's to get ideas flowing. The more ideas, the better. And if someone has a bad idea, someone has a better idea. So what I want to do is just have everybody listening to each other's ideas and thinking about improvements on them and ways and other things that we can be doing. That's the kind of process. And we have a scribe over here that not everybody can see, but I can say what it is writing down. After all these ideas are out of our heads, we're going to do dot voting. And I have dots that everyone can put on, and I'll hand out those dots when the time comes. Okay. So, ideas of things we can do in New York City to make a noise. UN.
Shut down the subway system.
Subway system.
Gas stations.
Gas stations. Wall Street. We're getting a backlog here. 1 second. Okay, gas stations.
Courthouses.
Wall Street. Courthouses.
It'd be interesting to hit airports.
Airports.
Trump Tower.
Trump Tower? Yeah. Go ahead.
The Real Estate Board of New York, and the reason I say that is because there's a city council motion right now to force big realtors to insulate their buildings, which are responsible for 73% of the city's emissions. And of course, REBNY is very much against that. So it would be a really strategic target. They're located here in New York City, obviously.
Awesome. You get Real Estate Board? Yeah. More ideas.
Yep.
An hourglass under the which?
Dead clock. Union Square South.
Oh.
The neon.
Con Ed in Astoria.
14th
Con Ed on 14th Street. Also put the power plant in Astoria.
Gas pipelines.
Gas pipelines. Just shut down. We're running out of space.
I'm just going to put it on the floor.
Right, lightly.
Okay. Brooklyn Bridge.
City Hall. Okay, ideas of things to do for these actions that are more than just going there?
I think even more than political spaces, it's something that disrupts people that need to go from here to there, here in between, or there's no place that there's a disruption.
So maximum disruption.
Disrupting something, not just disrupting.
Shut down all the traffic in Manhattan up north and south.
Alexandria.
Shut down the FDR.
She's trying to get by.
Spreading out and just peppering the whole city. Diet? Yeah, another tactic. Shut down the highway.
Big tunnels is good. Small number.
Bridge and tunnel traffic.
Tunnels.
Some kind of like digital blockade on Amazon, Netflix, Seamless, like some kind of disruption to the way that people spend their internet use.
Giant inflatable cow at the meat market in Chelsea.
Inflatable cow at the meat market.
I'd like to suggest we go to places like the NRDC or the World Wildlife Foundation and just maybe sing to them and support them for what they've done and invite them to join us.
The Extinction Rebellion kicked off by doing a sit-down at the Greenpeace headquarters in London and said, you guys need to step it up and join something much more active. I like that. Sit-downs inside climate nonprofits that are just not acting like it's an emergency. Support sit-down.
Call them in.
The Whitney Museum gave permission to the Spectra Gas Corporation to go under the museum. There should be some sort of major announcement connecting the big funders of major art collections to natural gas and fossil fuel extraction.
Giant portrait.
So what's the place or the thing for the scribes?
Whitney Museum.
Whitney Museum?
Morgan Chase.
Met Gala?
Banks.
Met Gala.
The Met Gala.
You mentioned that gets a lot of media attention already.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's a
really
good
good one.
idea. Think
Yeah.
of what already is getting the attention and go there.
Send up one time at the airport because that shut down yesterday.
Yeah, put up a drone at the airport.
We're gonna get in trouble.
What's that? Pageantry. Pageantry. Okay.
Quick statistics that are easy to understand and really, really hard-hitting effective. You know, it's shocking statistics. The most.
Couldn't hear.
Citing statistics is a thing to do.
A sit-in down by the courthouses. There's a government center. I don't exactly know, but City Hall. Near City Hall. Sit-ins there around the issue of divesting from fossil fuels.
Okay. Targeting City Hall with sit-ins.
Is there a way to make them viral along with the training video so that on the day, even if somebody couldn't come to the meetings, they can choose to participate wherever they are, so that our spread can be way bigger than we might even plan?
What is the sort of thing or place?
Do something that makes it viral, at least in New York City, so that people see it and have the information they need. So if they want to choose to participate on the day, even if they're not coming to like send like the location, that they can do something wherever they are.
It was like a pop-up thing that happened years ago. People sent out a message, and like 100 or 1,000 people showed up at a particular place, and that was there. They were there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then they left.
So like a flash
Flash
action.
mob.
Shut down the West Side Highway.
What's that?
Shut down the West Side Highway. And the BQE.
Shut down the highways.
Good gas stations there.
Shut down everything at the same time.
UPS, maybe do something to shut down UPS, I don't know. Stop the packages for a day.
You plan this online, and it's going to be revealed.
You can't have cops everywhere.
They sure can.
Or that, yeah.
Read all the killer
So dispersed protests that don't have like a single point of attack.
killer banks everywhere.
What's that?
Killer banks everywhere.
Yeah, hit all the banks everywhere.
Well, the killer bank.
The killer ones.
Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo. So you
really well, and not, I mean, not investing in fossil fuels.
Sing
Try to
carols?
support them.
Yeah, supporting the banks that are doing the right thing.
That are like amalgamated.
I think that we're getting to the end of this piece, and that we're getting close to the time that we should do dot voting.
What about just small streets in New York that go across? I mean, if you blocked everyone that was going on, you could block with 5 people.
This is a big tactic in London too.
Just saying, you could block all the way up and down with very few people. Every five blocks or something.
Yeah.
So blocking the side streets.
We could approach one big media company like the Wall Street Journal or someplace and demand that they actually report accurately on climate change. And definitely news.com is a good location.
So going after a media company, a large media company. At the View. They're disrupting an actual broadcast going on in New York.
Attending, maybe attending, you can attend like Ellen's show.
Yeah?
apologize because I'm really late. I've been an environmental since 1970. So and at Pioneers and the shows Oasis in Space since the 70s. So is this about calling attention
action.
start boycotting everything that's distributed and manufactured by Coca-Cola. Every Cheetos.
Right.
One of the options that Coca-Cola is boycott.
Massive boycott. Stop. Put your money where your mouth is. Put your money where your heart is.
Well, this is a question of what a small group of people can do to bring.
Yeah, we're just brainstorming. So just if you have anyone has better ideas, just keep it in. We don't need to agree.
Time, not a place. Just like certain times throughout the day, maybe 4 times in a day, and at that time, wherever you happen to be in the city, you do a little protest and you make a speech and you already have statistics and really good, evidence and things that'll shock people that are true. And
Stop everybody that's still using styrofoam. Stop everybody that's using plastic utensils. I was in a place yesterday where all the utensils, like kind of a hip cafe, but all the utensils were not only plastic, but they were wrapped in cellophane. Like, give me a break. I mean, how much waste is that?
Similar to what you're saying, my friend, support co-ops and stores that do not use, like don't use plastic, don't have packaged food, so we can just do lots of love and support and bring attention to the big box shops that are actually challenging the small mom and pop shops. Absolutely. I agree with you.
I also think it might be good to target the Canadian consulate or other Canadian facilities right now, because as some of you may know, Indigenous groups in Western Canada are right now being attacked by Canadian Mounties in order to make way for pipelines. So targeting the Canadian government might be good. I don't know. They're horrible.
People dressed in white surrounding the bull on Wall Street.
Did you guys get that? Surrounding what? A sea of people dressed in white surrounding the Wall Street Bull.
Yes.
Target the home of politicians.
Yes. Yes.
Go after the politicians where they live. Your hand's getting tired, isn't it? Sorry. I didn't think that we had so many ideas, actually. The sheet is full. I think that it's time to do dot.
If you were to summarize the intention of this initiative,
So
whatever
here's the
it may be,
idea.
what would be like the one line?
So there's different levels of intention, but we're trying to add to the inspiration of the overall body here. And it's hard to summarize all these ideas. So what we're going to do is just kind of express what people felt the most strongly about, and that's the point of dot voting. The other dimension of I think what you're asking is Extinction Rebellion succeeding because they're able to disrupt in a way that raises a moral question in London. And we're asking ourselves, what can we do in New York City that will have an equal or higher impact? They shut down 7 bridges at once in London. And within days of that, the city actually acceded to their demands and said that they would declare a climate emergency, which is now the largest government in the world to do that.
And even more importantly, we're here because they did that. More importantly, we are all here
We were
because
inspired
they
by
did
that.
that. So that means that if we do something, this many more people will be there somewhere else doing the same thing. I think
Why don't we do the same thing with the bridges around?
Copying them exactly.
Copy London.
Stay on brand.
I just want to point out that 25th is Saturday.
Yeah.
So that will take out some of our.
So we're not brainstorming for the 26th. There's an action and logistics committee that's already been working hard on coming up with a plan. We're laying out sort of options for where we're headed after the 26th. We don't believe that on the 26th we're going to succeed. It's too soon. It's something that's a sign of where we're at. It's something that is timed with all the other cities in the U.S. that are involved. The Extinction Rebellion London has gotten the BBC to commit to covering one of the cities in the U.S., and I think they're going to do us. So whatever we do is going to have a loud impact just because it's that day that was already chosen, even though it's not the ideal day, because it's so soon, and it's cold out, and it's a Saturday. But that's the day that we're going to do something. That's already going to happen. We're thinking about what else are we going to do. And I see your hand up, but we're really running out of time to do the brainstorming to get to the rest of the stuff we need to do. So I really want to head into dot voting. Do you have one more thing to throw out?
well, this may be too big, but my understanding is that all of these actors, as good as they are not enough. And that frankly, the entire structure of our society, meaning the capitalism and the imperatives for growth and the consumerism are what are going to destroy us. And if I may, I would suggest focusing primarily on the fact that everybody's going to have to drastically change their lifestyles right now.
That's
All right, lifestyle choices. Okay, come to me for your dots. I'm gonna actually, we need a few dot distributors. You wanna distribute dots? You wanna distribute dots? Okay. Don't come to me for your dots. Find a dot and put it on this paper. Each person gets one dot because we just don't have that many dots. We're short on dots. And we're gonna see which of these things everybody's sort of like gravitating towards. We're gonna share that. So hand out the dots to other people. Colors don't matter.
One dot.
Everyone gets one dot.
Go into maybe on top of the piano.
You need a dot?
I got one.
All right. Guys, don't go away.
Yeah.
There's a few more things that we need to talk about after you do your dots.
Okay.
Hey, Bill.
Yeah.
You want to talk to the live stream? Hey, everybody. We're doing our dot voting now. You have things that you want to
Yes, so this is comment.
Mama walked out there. Maybe she's going to grab
all my classmates.
Shut everything down at once. Yeah, hell yeah.
Or around the corner, yeah. You're totally unaware of the use of that stuff. What's that? Oh, about everybody, yeah. Oh, maybe just one guy who's anxious. Well, you know what that was? That was because somebody was going to I don't think like that. Try to get back to your seat area. You can do the next piece.
Shut down everything I also like digital blockade, but I don't know who's gonna handle that.
Someone has to be good at that.
Yeah. Oh, really? So this? Is there not anything going on up there? Yeah, one for both. I mean, one. I mean, that's what I mean. Yeah, it's kind of fun. That's pretty cool. I would think there would be, you know, Boston area, Cambridge would be very interested in this. And of course, Harvard and MIT's role system. Did you drop?
Room, yeah. If you guys sit down again, please. Okay, guys. As the last few people are finishing up their dot voting, we're gonna talk about a couple other things. We're gonna do one last go around. Maybe it's better if we go back to the we're gonna do one last go around, and the purpose of the last go around is to sort of get a measure of where we're at in terms of growing. The action on the 26th is going to be is really the reason that we came here today, was to get that to happen. And the main activity is not the action itself, but it's the organizing that we're going to do to get the action to happen. And so what I want you to do is to think about your own network, the people you know who would be interested in doing something like this, or who you could change their mind to get involved, who would come with you on the 26th. And how many people are there in that category? We can do a quick go around and kind of sum up that number and bring it back to the rest of the group. And that will be our contribution to the action in terms of numbers. What are the numbers that we're capable of bringing? And don't just say, I can get 1,000 people to come to this, because you probably can't. For example, I'm a parent. I have a full-time job. I don't know that many people. My kids are involved in a kind of a school that has a few families I feel like I can get involved. And I'm thinking about who those people are and that I can get them to come. And so I feel like I can get about 10 people to come on the 26th. That's my own personal contribution. And I want you to do that same equation in your head, and we'll do a quick go around and we'll sum up the numbers, and then we'll bring that back to the main group. So think of your number, and we'll just go down, and we'll just get everyone's number. And you just have 1 second to say your number. You want to just shout out a number? 2. 10.
Include yourself.
Yeah.
Include yourself.
3. 10. 12.
Okay. Hope you came up with a lot of amazing ideas.
10.
As you come, make your way back to your seats. And we're going to hear more.
Yeah. Can you shout out your
Groups
number?
in Brazil and
What's
West
that? 7.
And more amazing entertainment. Bob Brickman and Church Stop Shopping and of course Forever Billy.
I said 5.
Please make your way back. Thank you.
How many people? Pass. 10.
way, everyone needs to have one of those cards before you leave. Okay, what's the total? Okay, one last question for this body. Does anyone feel like they, not necessarily the next 2 weeks, but in the next several months, is thinking that they could host a house party that they might want support with? Not a party, but more like a house meeting where we can send a speaker. You can bring your friends. Raise your hand if you want this. Okay. You have 3, 4, 5? Okay, 5 house meetings. There's a card in the program. 6, 7. Okay. 8. There's a card in the program where you can fill that out, and then we can coordinate the details on that. So find your card. Make sure that you fill that out, and we go back. Now I think that we have our house meeting commitments. People are going to start coming back in, so you can go back to where you're sitting, and we're going to summarize this. And I need to go collect the summaries from all the other groups. So thank you so much. What was our final number? 214. That's amazing. Give yourselves a hand, and then 8 house meetings. Okay, awesome, Mike.
They might be giving them out.
So I still have 11 Patriot missiles in my closet.
No idea.
If you're a facilitator, when you are facilitating on the breakouts, please find Eve or me all the time. Make sure the summary of your breakout is being shared. Thanks everyone for the very lively breakouts. Please go ahead and get out of your seats now. And we're going to give a quick summary of where we're at.
If you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. If you can hear me, clap 3 times. All right. All right. Thank you all. Please take a seat. It's time to keep on going. I'm really excited now. I still hear a lot of chatter in the room. But now Bill's going to do a little bit of a report back from these breakouts. Sounds like there was a lot of great ideas that were generated there. And Eve is giving our numbers. We're going to see how many people we have committed to come to January 26th. Do we want to make a guess? Maybe we can get 1,000? Can we get 2,000? 5,000? 5,000 go once?
Okay, so the numbers have been reported back for most of the groups, not all of them. If you're a facilitator, Sarah, was your number reported back? So, sum total is, we're still adding here. Well, let me go through the actions. On my group, by far the most popular action was, let's copy London. If what they did worked, let's do it. We got bridges, we're an island. You can shut down the city pretty easy by shutting down bridges. That was very popular in my group. Some of the other ideas that won out were direct action at progressive media, shutting down power plants, the power plant Astoria. Other groups are also saying, let's shut down the bridges, shut down the financial district. There are some interesting action ideas about a visual clothing marker, like yellow vest, but they don't have to be yellow vest, but something that people will notice. Walkouts in solidarity with folks like Lexi, painting the streets, using bikes to block things, occupying sculptures, flash die-ins, guerrilla street marketing. This is really creative. I'm so glad I live in New York City. Choreographed art blockades, I would love to see that. By far, it looks like the number one thing though is around shutting down transportation and roads and bridges. So it looks like we know kind of where we're going. Just to remind everyone, the 26th has a plan that's being worked out currently with the Action Logistics Committee. This is for future actions. For the 26th, we have commitments for about 808 people to come, and that's a big action. 808 on a direct action around climate change would be really amazing. I've seen marches with more people than that, but I don't think I've ever been to a direct action with that many hundreds of people. That's our commitment. I hope that when you say that, you realize that you're making a commitment on behalf of this whole group. We're going to plan for this, and if we don't succeed, it's the end of all life. So, low stakes here. And then finally, there are some commitments for about 36 people to do house meetings. Everyone should have a rebellion card in the program. That's absolutely critical that you're filling that out before we leave today. This is how we make up the body of this organization. You can select which working groups you want to be on. If you did say that you wanted to do a house meeting, that's where you indicate it so we can coordinate those and make sure that we have speakers available and all the other support we need to help grow this. And if you want to have a say in how this grows, the folks who organized this meeting today hopefully are not the people who are going to be organizing our meetings a month from now, 3 months from now. We are just the beginning. We're just the unlucky few who got stuck carrying the mantle for a while, but there's a lot more people who need to be involved to make this work right. And you're looking at them right now.
We appreciate you, Bill.
What's that?
We appreciate you, Bill.
So, that's all for me. Thanks for the appreciation, and good luck with fulfilling your commitments. Let's get on with it. Thanks.
Thank you. Great. Hopefully we can meet that goal of 808, and hopefully we beat it. That would be awesome. So, you guys, you all, thoughts and prayers do work, because guess who's here? Hawk Newsom from Black Lives Matter is not in person. He's here. He actually is. We have a sea of white faces here, and that color is severely underrepresented, and we'd like that to change. So I'm sure I can speak for everyone when I say we'd like that to change. So Hawk is going to talk a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My brothers, sisters, friends, family, and to the agents in here who are dressed like my brothers, sisters, friends, and family. Last night was interesting. We were protesting in Patterson, New Jersey for a brother named Jameek, Jameek Lowry. Say his name, Jameek Lowry. Say his name.
Jameek Lowry.
Jameek went to the hospital last week. He had a bad reaction to ecstasy, to be perfectly honest, and he left. He found himself in a precinct saying things like, I need help, I need water. It seemed pretty incoherent. But then he really started talking crazy, saying like, they're trying to kill me. And they're like, who's trying to kill me? He said the police. Because they think I talked to the FBI, and I didn't talk to the FBI. So just watching this, he actually went live in the precinct, you would think that he was just rambling. But the fact of the matter is that 5 officers in the last few years have been indicted by the FBI out of the Patterson Police Department. And Jameek was an informant. So he was paranoid, but he was speaking his own personal truth. The most recent officer that was indicted by the FBI was back in May, and he beat a person in the emergency room, a suicidal person in the emergency room of this hospital. So let me tell you what my week has looked like, and I'll be quick with respect for time. I heard the call, spoke to the family, we went out there Monday, we protested in peace. We were pepper sprayed. Police were standing 20 feet away from us and just sprayed the crowd. Children, men, women. Most of 90% of the news networks that were out there didn't report it. Some people were hit with sticks. And I'll tell you the truth, it's our right to shut shit down. Right? If the country, if the government isn't doing what we need it to do, it's our God-given right. It's our right to shut shit down. So we shut it down. And about 2 days later, another report came out. Initially, the police said, we did not touch him. We start protesting. 2 days later, another report is released. Well, we used a bit of force to restrain him and to defend ourselves, right? So the city had a hearing. The mother went up there. They were so eloquent and articulate. And I was so happy with the way they expressed themselves. All they asked for was answers. We're not making any accusations. We're asking for answers. And the mayor looked her in the face and said, man, I swear to you, I'm going to get you every answer that I can get you, be it right or wrong, good or bad. Looked the family, assured them. A day later, the mayor releases information that the man who died, Jameek Lowry, died of spinal meningitis. Right? So this is the cause of death. So if anyone in here has heard of spinal meningitis giving somebody a black eye and a broken eye socket, please raise your hand. I never heard of shit like that. Right? Like, really? I just never heard of people like, but this is what they do. So the hospital actually called a community meeting and said, no, we did not draw any conclusions that he had spinal meningitis. So this is like house of cards, like first 48, and it's unraveling right in front of us. Why is it important here? Because the same governments who oppress and kill black people are beholden to those corporations who destroy our planet, and they are all working together. So the reason I'm here is to ask you to help me bring this climate fight to our ghettos, where we suffer and live at 2 times the rate of anyone else next to toxic waste, where we suffer from asthma because of our conditions, where we just suffer when there's flooding like Louisiana. We live in all of those zones where when shit really goes crazy, they'll be underwater and we don't have the fucking money to move. And we don't even know it. Because we're too busy worrying about poverty and police brutality. So help me bring that message to the people. Join us when we fight in the streets, and let's fight back together. All power to the people.
Thank you, Hawk. Thank you so much. So next, we're actually going to hear from Defend Democracy Brazil, which is a group from Brazil and indigenous representation to talk about some of the things going on down there. And we know this is like sort of taking it out of New York City, but it's totally all interconnected, and we know that this stuff is happening here in New York and all around the US, so it definitely still relates. So I'd like to welcome Adriana and Octo and Evan, who are here today.
Hi, I mean, we have now in Brazil a fascist that want to destroy now all the Indian tribes and want to destroy Amazon because they want the minerals, they want the gold, they want the diamonds, they want the trees, they want everything that Amazon has. And we are the voice for them because in Brazil right now, they can't do nothing. Also because they have military strategy together with the United States. The United States is there together to do that. It means I think it's our responsibility to, stop that. Because it's like the hope that they have right now is us. To go to close bridge, to do scandals about what's going on now in Brazil and Amazon and with the Indians. Every Indians die right now, by minutes. Many are dying right now in Brazil.
Renata, Marcos, Amahalia, we're from Defend Democracy Brazil community. We were founded 3 years ago. I just wanted to introduce a little bit of we started with trying to stop the impeachment of our president-elect Dilma Rousseff. One of the reasons and one of the first times we received her here was when she came to sign the Paris Agreement and to sign the plan to comply with the goals to end global warming. And so that was the beginning of a series of events that stopped her from being the president and also bringing all this corporate agenda to buying the resources of Brazil. The oil is one of them, right? Agribusiness is the major one that is bringing deforestation to the Amazon. So we have thought through a series of actions and performances and petitions, and we do a lot of media advocacy, which I think is also something we contributed to our group here. We think it's major that we really do media advocacy to bring the narrative. Because, for example, if you know about Brazil, what's going on in Brazil, and the fascist elect through dubious means, which we totally don't recognize him as a president, you know that the news in New York Times or the main media that shows the news about that is very biased. It's not telling you. So everything, if you've gotten your news about Brazil through those media, you haven't heard the truth, really. So we do a lot of work to disrupt the narrative, the fake news, or all kinds of narratives. And right now, as you know, Bolsonaro, with the fascist president we're talking about, is aligned with Trump to get out of the Paris Agreement. So we are very concerned about that. We are here for the indigenous people of Brazil. Yesterday, for example, there was an action to shoot Brazilian Indians at the south, not in the Amazon region, but other regions of Brazil, because of developers in illegal areas, in areas of environmental conservation, and they are threatening to kill all of this tribe, all of this group of Indians by Sunday if they don't get out of the land. So one of the actions we did yesterday was to bring out to the attention of the media, and also have to try to get articles in the New York Times. We have made made friendships with journalists who are now sometimes freelance correspondents to main media, and that's our way to also infiltrate the news to try to get the word out. So we'll be joining you in many of the actions. We hope you join us. We have a site at democracybrazil.org. Anybody else wants to say?
Thank you. No, I think Octo was going to.
Thank you.
I'm very pleased to join you in these meetings because we talk about the genocide of human being if we are not stopped here. I was a journalist in Indonesia, and I'm originally from West Papua. I see how the big company like British Petroleum come work with the local government. They said to us, our people, I report, saying we will not work with the military, but in the reality they are using it. As we speak, 220,000 people now in the forest in West Papua, simply because we try to defend our environment. And this British Petroleum is paying the brutal military, and it will continue. So I think we talk about future, but now my people are dying in a genocide as a Brazilian, and we need your support.
400,000 tons. 400,000 tons. That's how much CO2 BP is releasing from their plant in West Papua every year. They're about to bring a new plant online this year that's going to double the production. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. 400,000 tons. 400,000 tons. 400,000 tons. 400,000 tons. Fuck BP. Fuck BP. Fuck BP. Fuck BP. On Tuesday, we're doing a die-in. On Tuesday, we're doing a die-in. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Union Square. Union Square.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can find out more at xrr.nyc/ what was it? BP/BP. Okay, great. I'm so excited to introduce the next, the musical act. This is a rap artist, New York-based rap artist named Baba Brinkman, best known for his Rap Guide, a series of science-themed plays and albums. And I heard he even gets them fact-checked by scientists, all of his raps. So imagine the scientists looking over some rap lyrics. That's a really cool image. Anyway, he's premiering a new song today. So welcome, Baba Brinkman.
Thank you very much. I do a brand called peer-reviewed hip-hop or peer-reviewed rap. I submit the lyrics to experts in the field. There is a new song that is going to be coming out in 1 week for the 2nd anniversary of the Trump inauguration, and it is a letter to the president informing him of the findings of the National Climate Assessment and the impacts here in America that are forthcoming. So you are all going to hear the first ever performance of this song, which is going to be called Redemption. The lovely Jesse Davis is featured on the track as well with the chorus, and if you feel any of it, then you're welcome to sing along. And one last note is that after the performance and between 4:30 and 5-ish, if anyone wants to join us, we're filming as many different faces and voices singing along with this chorus as possible. So if you feel that, you will have that option. Welcome. All right, ready, Jesse?
Hey.
Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to on that day? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to on that day?
Okay, Mr. President, let's get into it. Hold on a second. That version is the vocal version. cinnamon if you feel it. Okay.
1, 2, 3, get it. Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to on that day?
Okay, Mr. President, let's get into it. The fourth climate assessment is a definitive synthesis of the evidence. Have you read it yet? It's your report, straight from the executive. It says right here, produced by the White House. I've got summary notes for you to write down. You might want to lie down or raise an eyebrow. People are dying in America right now from high-powered supercharged hurricane torrents in the 5 category, or the 4 like Florence. 100-year storm every year is historic, but you just ignore it because your gut tells a different story. So you go to California like a tourist when the place is scorched and say they ought to rake the forest. You don't read climate change reports. Hot things burn more. Agent Orange. And if you're waiting for an economic incentive, the vulnerable sector losses are documented in the hundreds of billions. And you're on Twitter every time an immigrant gets a parking ticket. What's wrong, Mr. President? Did you confuse the climate with the weather? Weather is like your mood. Even you can have a minute of benevolent cool. Your temperament stays narcissistic and rude, and the climate stays getting hotter on the whole day. Okay, you're trying to hold your base, but there's snowflakes. Even they will go away when the special prosecutor shows his whole case. So brace yourself for the impact friction, trying to bring back Nixon, skin bag edition. You got elected as a big tactician, but cinnamon, you can't run from redemption.
Cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to? Oh, cinnamon, where you gonna run to on that day? Temperatures rising, words are on fire. Oceans rising higher and higher. People rising tides on the moon. Redemption's waiting for you.
Redemption only comes from confession and cooperation like the rest of your henchmen, so the rest can clean up the mess you left us. The extra decades of combustion engines sloshing around, extra cars on the ground, the engineering solutions that are still not found, the high carbon count we still gotta draw down. You're the toast of the fossil fuel market now, but the garbage found in a kid's lungs wheezing, that's what plagues the dreams of Ebenezer. Congratulations on a future without any meaning, either oblivious or haunted by many demons, or there's many paths to redemption. None of them involve apathy or inattention. None involve rejection of the scientific method. All of them involve coming straight to your senses.
Temperatures rising, the woods are on fire. Oceans rising higher and higher. People are rising tides on the moon. Redemption's waiting for you.
Redemption is medicine. It means you heal. It's the next generation with extreme new zeal. It's the Green New Deal that we're keen to seal. The climate doesn't give a soybean how you feel. It cares about one thing, radiative forcing. You got in bed with Vladimir and Alexander torsion, but that doesn't stop the sun scorching or the rotation of the Democratic door swing. I'm talking to Republicans. It's already started. Renounce Trump now or forever be tarnished. Join the bipartisan climate change caucus. Back the carbon dividend act that's in Congress. It's going to take a major mobilization to switch it up from Rosie the River to the grandma's pension fund. And all the fossil fuel stock is divested from. All voices sing as one till redemption comes.
Temperatures rising, words are on fire. Oceans rising higher and higher. People rising tides on the moon. Redemption
If you haven't filled out the cards, raise your hand if you haven't gotten a card. All right, there's a few folks with hands up. Some cards are getting sent around. And also there's a bunch of pens up here. If you can't find a pen near you. This card is the whole point of coming here today. So you cannot leave here without filling out that card. Billy will remind you as well. If you need pens, they're coming around. Also, they're still setting up, so we've got a second. Just want to encourage folks to... All right. I'm going to hand the floor to Reverend Billy. Rock and roll, guys. You've been called climate change. Climate change. Climate change. Climate change.
passed into extinction from us just last Thursday.
Yeah, the first extinction of 2019, people.
Well,
It's live tweets.
that we know of, there's extinctions every day. This was one that was being watched by naturalists in Hawaii. Amen. And now, hallelujah.
I'm a frog, I'm a tiger, I'm a manta ray. I'm alive in the great death wave. Extinction is my name. Call me climate change. I'm a bat, I'm an aspen, I'm a wolverine. I am man's wildest dream. 3D picture screen. Imagination, we surround you. Imagination, we surround you. I'm a snake, I'm a lichen, I'm a glory mother, singing high on a dying world. Who evolves to hear the song beyond the years? Humankind, we're around you. You're the ghost, we have found you. Imagination, we surround you. Imagination, we surround you. You take the names of what you kill. Our names are dead, but we still sing. We might become, but you're the ghost. You are the ghost. You are the ghost. You are the ghost. You take the names of what you kill. Our names are dead, but we still sing. We still sing. We might become, but you're the ghost. You are the ghost. You are the ghost. You are the ghost. Humankind, we're around you. You're the ghost we have found. Imagination, we surround you. We surround you. We surround you. We surround you.
Thank you. The Stop Shopping Choir. You know, in that song we tried to take the persona, obviously, of the animals. Tried to speak for them and look back at ourselves. I think ultimately we've got to do that kind of thing. I don't think that this extinction rebellion can just be another issue campaign that opposes, has strategies, has lots of bodies. We're excited about it. I'm excited about it. Amen? I mean, there's a kind of thing that happens when you hear Black Lives Matter, when you hear Standing Rock, when you hear Occupy Wall Street for the first time, and you just get it. It kind of jerks your body. Am I right? Yeah. That happened with this one. It is special. But we journeyed to all of those movements, and they kept a unbreakable, highly surprising identity. And we do that here. start saying, oh yeah, when they hear about this movement. Because it's about life. And something that the big institutions, representatives of the big institutions do not understand about what's happening to people living their everyday lives right now is that we're carrying this weight. We have known enough. There's a huge disjunct between what is really happening in physical life of this planet and the ecosystems, the species, the life. Animals, plants, all the way down to, I've read that there are mitochondria going extinct. There's a wave of silence that is just sweeping through us, and we feel it. We know about it. We're made of life. We're made of the earth.
Right.
And the big institution, they have something to fear if each and every one of us becomes radical as a result of remembering that we are made of the earth. Gaia is a self-regulating organism. Well, that's what James Lovelock and Lynn Margolin came up with. This idea that this is a living being of which we're a part. We're holding our middle ground here, somewhere between the one-celled animals and the universe, talking to each other on our private line, that human line, amen? Hello. But the idea that this beautiful blue and white web ball spinning in space is a living thing. That's been universally denied in a cultural sort of way. It clashes with our Christian colonizing capitalist agenda. It doesn't fit anything. But it fits this movement. It fits us. Gaia, we're listening. What are we doing on the 26th? We're going to do the things that you tell us to do. We're going to follow your instructions. We're going to learn your language. We haven't disencrypted your language for a number of centuries, but we're ready to listen now. We're ready to understand the language of the earth. Amen. Hallelujah. If there are any hesitators, if there are any fence-sitters, it seems to me that there was just an oratorio that came to us North American types. Irma, Maria, Florence, Michael, Malibu, Paradise. We've had a tremendous series of messages, haven't we, just recently? Hallelujah. How do we learn that language? You know what we've been doing here in this Stop Shopping Choir is we just go to a forest and stay there a long, long time. Speak to the animals around you. There are trillions of them. If your body was just covered with microscopic microphones, there would be a different song in every microphone when you went back to the studio and downloaded it. Immerse yourself in wetlands. Hover over a coral reef. Just go there and be in it. Be in it and ask a question. Have a conversation. Say what we've been saying here. We have a language we have to learn for this campaign to work. we've got to hear the earth.
That's right.
You've got to receive your instructions. Hallelujah. You just go there and ask for it. And you might get, this has happened to a couple of us, you get knocked over right away with a really shocking big voice. Or several days later, something comes up, there's light on the side of a building, and it's more a little bit akin to like seeing Jesus Christ in a taco, you know? It's a little bit more suggestive and weird. You'll get an answer. Now I hear an uncomfortable silence. We have practiced progressive lefty, you know, half of us know the other half. I mean, we've all known each other here. I mean, we're in a community. We know each other here, right? We know each other, and we know that very few of us subscribe to religion. That's not what we are either. We're against it. We're against it in the Church of Stop Shopping. But I would like to go to the Holy Writ here a moment and say a couple things to you. We're trying to get through that doorway to fly into the Earth-Alleluia and have that message that will make our activism so much more powerful. That will make our courage beside the point. We will be agents for Gaia. Okay, my first quote is from Wangari Maathai. Amen. Hallelujah. Praise be. The Kenyan Nobel laureate who planted 1 billion trees. She led something called the Green Belt Movement. I read a quote from Ms. Maathai, and she said, "Our effort in the Green Belt Movement, helping communities to rebuild their relationship to a damaged environment, it didn't really work until we shared spiritual core beliefs." She wasn't going to go there because she's going all over the world working with people. She thought that it was necessary for her to be strictly secular in the liberal tradition. Amen. Like Democrats, like people from the environmental movement. No religion here. No spirituality here. Just data, research, litigation, legislation, amen, marketing. You know, it's all the stuff you can put on a computer screen. All right, here's the second quote for you. This is from Dr. Ann Ehrlich and Dr. Paul Ehrlich. They wrote The Population Bomb. Anybody know it? Amen? Experts on extinction, shall we say. Goodbye, ladies. Stop shopping. Don't shop too much. All right, watch the consumption. Amen. All right. And the quote from the Ehrlichs, they were invited to contribute to an anthology, and the editor said, write us an essay about why we're in such a mess and how we can get out of it. And they said, evidence points to the need for a transformational, quasi-religious change in cultural values. Okay. It's the kind of issue that Hawk from Black Lives Matter and Adriana from saving the Brazilian rainforest, everybody in every issue, all 714 of the progressive lefty issues, they have all got to know, yes, I'm with the Extinction Rebellion because this is my issue, because I want to live, I want my children to live, and we have to live. We're not trying to elbow our way in there and be sharing that space with the other 714. They're going to have to see us coming out of the sky, coming out of the ecosystem, flying
Hallelujah. The earth is made of nothing but miracles. The earth is amazing. We don't even understand it. We can't explain life. We can't explain death. Nobody ever has. If anybody tries to, they're fundamentalists. They're violent. Show them the door.
We've been carrying around this weight. Children, cousins, nieces, nephews, lovers. We're all at risk. It's very strange. The public spokesperson says a silence out there about what is really happening. Fake news, fake news, fake news. The only real news isn't being spoken. We're going to be zealots. We're going to fly and swim. We're going to flow like magic fluid through the ecosystems. We're going to have so much power in us. When we decide to go to the 9/11 memorial at Ground Zero, it's going to be easy. We're not going to have to climb up out of our social constructions, out of our ego and our fear and our bravery and our careerism and what's right and what's wrong. Who's going to get upset? We're going to go because we're the earth. We're the earth. Hallelujah. We're going to occupy the Natural History Museum. We're going to occupy the deck of the Empire State Building. We're going to do astonishing things. People won't be able to believe that. But it's going to go into the neighborhoods. It's going to go to all the issues. People fighting gentrification will understand how this is their issue. It's going to seep down into everybody's reality. I think it's got to happen. There isn't room for another issue. There's only room for living. Hallelujah. The joy, the praise. Some of the old-fashioned things. Some of the ancient things. Some of the things we've ignored. Since the Industrial Revolution. Since irrigation. Ooh. Gaia. I feel your power here. Just a couple hundred people. Down in the Quaker Meetinghouse. I'll never forget this moment. We feel the earth. In our bodies. We know direct action will never be the same. We know extinction is the earth talking to us. You're withdrawing from life. We want to work to make more life live. Be with us. We know you want us to survive. We know life loves life. We can work together. Pray together. Cry on a branch together. Extinction is here. Extinction. Oh, I don't know. Can we make it? I just want to know. Can we make it? Can we shake this? Can we? Are we gonna make it?
to connect to some gratitude, to really thank each other and ourselves and everyone who's been here today to make this happen. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you to all of our speakers and all of our musical artists. Thank you for all of you to showing up today. You've made commitments, you listened to each other, you brainstormed, you heartstormed. So much has happened in the last 3 hours. It was amazing. You've really created something here today. So thank you all for being a part of that. Tell your friends, direct everyone to XR NYC as well as the Facebook page. Don't forget, fill out your rebellion cards. We'll collect them on the way out. And thank you to all of our volunteers and organizers. Can you please give them all a round of applause? Thank you. And again, thank you all for coming.
God, I need to embarrass someone real quick. Christina, she's gonna come out here. She's been working non-stop on this event. Christina, thank you so much. She and I
We've been ending our meetings with a violent whisper of rebel for life. So on 3, I want you to whisper fiercely, rebel for life.
Fierce would be better than violent.
Yes, we are, thank you, we're nonviolent direct action, sorry. On stage right. So a fierce rebel for life. 1, 2, 3.
When's the next meeting, guys? What's the next We'll find out. When do you fill out your card?
Not quite, higher. It's just live. But it'll be on the stream. So it should be. Oh, no worries.